Blog Talk Radio.
All right. There we go. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and as you probably gathered, for those of you tuning in live, we had a little bit of an audio issue there. It didn't seem to want to phase out like it normally does. So my apologies for that, but this is the last show of 2017. This is our Christmas special, if you will, and got a great show for you. It's going to be a little bit shorter than normal, guys. For those of you tuning into the broadcast, we're going to have a special Coaches Corner panel to round out the season, and then I'm going to just say have a few thank yous and that at the end of the program, and then we're going to close off. So it's not going to be our usual 2-hour broadcast here, just the first hour, and then a little bit longer for me to give some specific thank yous to a number of folks that have been on the show, including the panel, and then we'll be closing off. And I will be broadcasting the first show of 2018 will be in February, on February 8th, and but Coach's Corner will not start until the first Thursday of March. So just some general broadcasts in the month of February just to get things warmed up, and then we'll be jumping in with the Coaches Corner panel again in March. So for all of you that have been on the panel this past season and previous seasons, if you're interested, by all means make sure you reach out to me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com, and I'll make sure I get a copy of the schedule, which I know is a little bit late getting out, and I should have it out to you this weekend, if not the first of next week. But thanks for tuning in, everybody, tonight on the last show of the year. And for those of you that obviously are familiar with how to get there, and those of you who are just here for the first time, let me just remind everybody we are live Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on blogtalkradio.com. Best way to find us is go to that link and up in the search key type Golf Talk Live. And if you're not able to join us during the live broadcast, you can just scroll down that page and you can visit the on-demand section, which has all of the previously aired shows in their entirety there, as they're all auto-recorded. You can also jump in and listen to us on iTunes or Stitcher.com. Just go there into the podcast section, and again, just type in Golf Talk Live, and you'll find us there as well. Always want to hear from you. You're welcome to call in during the live broadcast. 646-716-4667 is the number to call. Or you can email any questions or comments to me personally, to ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And obviously update through all social media, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all of the social media there. You can find it either under Golf Talk Live blog or under my name personally, Ted Odorico, and my Twitter handle is Ted and Buck, CEO, C-O-B in capital letters. So lots of ways to connect through there as well. As I said, I got a great show tonight. I got three very great gentlemen that have been on the show many, many times. John Hughes, James Kyle, and of course Pete Buchanan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then I'm going to bring them on to the show, and then we'll have what will be our last Coaches Corner panel of the 2017 season. So let me just tell you a little bit about each of them. First up, of course, is John Hughes. He's a PGA Master Professional, and now the newly appointed president, no longer the vice president, of the North Florida PGA Section. He's also a recipient of the 2013 PGA of America Horton Smith Award. And he's also a top 30 instructor and contributor to Golf Tips magazine. Also next on the panel is James Kyle. He's a PGA professional and owner of the James Kyle Golf Academy, and he was the 2014 West Central Chapter PGA Teacher of the Year, as well as the 2012 West Central Chapter PGA Junior Golf Leader of the Year, and received an honorable mention in 2011 from the U.S. Kids Golf as a top 50 instructor, teacher rather. And then rounding out the panel, of course, is another a great professional, and that would be Pete Buchanan. And he is the founder and director of instruction and owner of Plain Simple Golf, LLC, which, of course, houses the Plain Simple Golf Circuit and the Simple Swing Repeater Training Brace. And Pete has been teaching over the last 30 years, doing a great job simplifying his golf swing philosophy in order to make it simple for players to play this game, just like you out there listening tonight. So we're glad to have everybody here. And, guys, welcome to the last Coach's Corner panel of 2017.
Thank you, Ted.
Thanks, Ted. Great to be here.
Thanks, Ted.
All right, you're very welcome, guys. Glad to get everybody on board, and glad to get everything out. All right, guys, as I said to you just briefly off air, we're going to have kind of a light discussion tonight, just because it is the last show of the year, and I know we've covered a lot of great things throughout the year. So, Pete, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind, and then John, and then James, and then we'll kind of rotate it out. These are some questions I actually had for the previous panel of guests that were on that I thought were applicable for this time of year, and I just thought I would throw them into you guys as well, just to get your thoughts and sort of feedback as well. So the first one, Pete, as I said, I'm going to start with you. What has been the biggest improvement that you've seen among your students this year? And it can be sort of a general theme, if you will. And also, what has been the most difficult for your students, do you think, to grasp this season?
Yeah, really, I have to go first. I think the biggest thing for all of my students has been basically ball control. Through what I've developed with the Simple Swing Repeater and the Swing program, they're all pretty well, excited at how much ball control they have and how much straighter they can hit it, and how much more solid they can hit it in a very short period of time. So I think that's probably, the biggest thing that I've seen with all the students. And I think that the toughest one, boy, I'm not trying to brag or anything. I haven't had too many things that have been too tough, but I think probably, I had a couple of cases where I thought, I probably could have got them to hit it a little bit better, and a little bit faster than I did.
Right.
We run into those every now and then, the ones that kind of, throw you for a loop, and you're looking at it and you say, this is what I have to do when you do that, and that doesn't work. And so,
right.
You got to sort of backtrack and, go back through the system again and try to figure it out. So for me, I think that was probably the toughest one, was, looking at a couple of players and going with what I thought was correct, and unfortunately it didn't work. So fortunately, in the end, we got them doing what we needed to do. So.
Right, and that just goes to show, and as we all know as professionals, that every student is different. What sometimes might work for one student doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So you have to kind of mix it up and play it around. Was there any area of the game, though, Pete, that you can think of, whether it be the short game, maybe bunker play specifically, or any areas of the game that on average, or maybe you had some students that really had difficult grasping that? Is there anything more specific like that you can think of offhand, or was it pretty much generally good to go for all the way around?
I think another part is basic course management. A lot of them just don't, they don't see the concept of, you really shouldn't hit a driver on this hole. And, it's the tee shot. I'm supposed to hit a driver. Well, it's not really conducive to trying to score on it. So I think a lot of times that can be difficult too, trying to get them to understand that, there's actually a better way to play this hole than, what the status quo is. It'll be easier for you to score better if you make these changes. So I think that you can run into some difficulties there a lot with course management.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, Pete and John and Kyle or James, sorry, is that, a lot of people forget that they're there to play the game. It's not just all about ball striking. It's not just about hitting the perfect shot. You're there to actually play the game. So as you're right, Pete, course management and that sort of thing is critical for playing your best rounds. John, what about you? What about some of the biggest improvements through many of your students did you notice this year, and what were some of the difficult areas that you were working on that you found some struggles with?
I think the biggest breakthroughs that I see people make year in, year out is realizing that if they spent just a little bit more time on short game in general, that it buys them time to make the more, let's call it more difficult skill improvements that are more ball striking, more full swing in nature, that when you can, as Pete said, sort of play your way around the golf course a little smarter, a little bit more efficiently, and then have just one or two better short game shots. It doesn't really take an entire round, but 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 better short game shots that you have in your arsenal. Now all of a sudden you take the pressure off your ball striking, and you're able to spend more time enjoying the game, first off. Second, your practice just changes. The way you utilize your practice time, the way you budget your practice time, the way you put everything together, there's more time to get the more difficult things done. When someone finally finds that out, it's a eureka moment for them.
Right. And what about the difficult areas? Were there anything specific that you found a lot of your students were struggling with this year? Was there any particular that you can think of, and maybe in the short game, as you said, or putting even? What about that? Was there anything that you can think of?
Well, the biggest thing that comes to mind is their expectations and what their expectations are versus what they can, in a reality sense, perform. Not only from a skill standpoint of view, but probably from a fitness standpoint of view, that if the suppleness, the dexterity, the flexibility, the core strength and stability isn't there, then you're going to have some limitations. You're going to have some restrictions. I mainly see that in males versus females. Sure. Females are a little bit more accepting of the fact that, hey, okay, I've got some limitations. Well, help me get through those. Help me sideswipe those or work around them, where the more competitive person, particularly the male, is, well, I'm a bull in a china shop. I don't need that anyway. That kind of expectation can certainly lead to some failure down the road somewhere, but in particular on the lesson tee with your coach, I let them go ahead and fail. It's okay to let them fail. You learn some of the best lessons in life by failing. So having that happen on the course, having that happen on the range isn't a bad thing. I wouldn't necessarily say it's something that people continually struggle with. It's the people that have some realistic expectations of what they believe they can do versus what they can actually do. That's probably the biggest thing I see year in, year out, this year being no different.
Yeah, and that's a great point, John. You're exactly right. I think a lot of people come to the lesson tee with unrealistic expectations. They're expecting that the professional they're working with is going to clear and fix all of the problems, with the wave of a magic wand, so to speak. And a lot of times, some of the issues are a little bit more in depth. Some of them take a little bit more fine tuning. And what a lot of people don't realize is they have to play a role as well. It's not just a matter of us. I mean, we can show them and explain to them what they're doing wrong and what can help them. But if they're not willing to put the efforts in, then they're not going to notice that. And then that's really where they fall short in their expectations, because they come in with unrealistic expectations, thinking that, they're going to find some Band-Aid solution to what their problem is, and it may be more complex than that. James, what about you? Biggest improvements with your students this year, anything that you can think of? And what were some difficult areas that you found tough to deal with your students this year? Was there anything specific?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say that, especially in the last few years, what's improved the most is knowledge, I think. I think that there are many things that we've learned over the years, and we're slowly learning that some of those things may not have been as accurate as we used to. And so I think the students are smarter now than they were before. At least you know, that I think our teaching is more efficient. They're learning faster. I'm not sure if really it would be fair to say that, you know, all handicaps are dropping as fast as others. I think that they're smarter. They're practicing better. They are listening and improving. And really, I think that's different now. You know, the information, especially with the internet, is so much better. Right. Although, you know I haven't talked to John Hughes in a really long time. We'll up here at the end to talk a bit, but he's actually a huge reason why I'm doing exactly what I'm doing now. He may not know it, but I mean, there's just good information out there. There's obviously, you know, everyone's looking at YouTube. I ran into a guy today who is, you know, he's been watching YouTube and learning to play. You know, some of the information is great, maybe not so great here and there. But knowledge, I think for me, that's the big deal, that I feel they are better now. They're smarter. And you asked about like a negative.
Not so much a negative. I mean, obviously, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you in the sense that I think the students in today's market are able to absorb, I think would be a good word, absorb the information more effectively perhaps. But yeah, not so much a negative, James, but just, you know, there's always areas of the game that we all have difficulty trying to, you know, some people it might be for their bunker play, it might be the short game in general, whatever it might be. Was there any area that you noticed, and I don't want to use the word trend, but that you had the most difficult with your students in getting them to grasp or understand?
I'd say, you know, ball flight. Everyone is still showing up feeling that they have to draw the golf ball. And if the ball at all in the air is falling to the right, you know, for a right-handed player, or falling left for a lefty, that it's a negative, that they are not hitting a good golf shot. And so I would say that ball flights are still, you know, even, you know, obviously lots of great shots can be hitting the fade. But that seems to be a really big deal almost every day. And even whenever a player when they are not achieving, you know, a draw type ball flight, they feel like there's failure, even though they may actually be performing very well. So that I would say that's probably the most difficult thing for me.
You know, what's interesting about that is a great point. What's interesting about that, guys, what James brings up, is when you look at somebody like Jack Nicklaus, who really made his career off hitting the fade. And, you know, obviously, as we know, that hitting a draw will, in most cases, when hit successfully, does carry the ball a little bit further than hitting a fade. But yet, you know, arguably one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player in history so far, made his game successfully in hitting a fade. And for a very short period of time, in fact, it was probably only about a year, where he actually tried to make some substantial changes to his swing through, and I don't recall the gentleman's name at the time, but where he was encouraged to hit more of a draw, he actually played terrible. So he went back to what he knew. So you're right, James, in saying that. I think that a lot of people are, I mean, certainly it's great if you can hit a draw, but I think if you put that as in the forefront as a main focus and equate that with success on the golf course, that may not be your natural ball flight. You may be a fader of the ball, and there's a lot of factors that come into that. It's not just club face direction and so forth. Sometimes it's how we swing the club. Some people just naturally do not have a good draw swing and aren't able to duplicate the things necessary as effectively as they might in trying to hit a fade. So there's a lot of factors involved. Some great points, guys. John, I want to bounce back to you on this next question, and then James, and then Pete. Now, I asked you guys a moment ago what was some of the biggest improvements that you saw amongst your students and some of the most difficulties. But I want to ask you now, and John, I'm going to start with you. What did you take away from working with your students this year? What were some of the lessons that you took away that helped you to become a better teacher that you think are going to help work towards a even more successful 2018?
I'll reiterate some things that James said. They come to you just a little bit more educated now with all the different stimuli and distractions they have with YouTube and Golf Channel and all the other things that are out there. They do come just a little bit more educated. So the preparation ahead of time, I'm probably putting a little bit more into, say, in 17 than, say, in 16. And it's not preparation as far as getting things set up for them or such. It's literally, to use another sports term, it's film study, or it's communication study. Like the NFL players are constantly in the film room, not only looking at their own performance, but looking at their opponent's performance. I find myself going back to flight scope numbers a little bit more often, or maybe going to a older video of the same student, say 2 or 3 years ago, and double-checking progress, double-checking benchmarks that are there, because they're just that much more knowledgeable. With the newer students, their knowledge, what I'm finding I'm doing more of is organizing their knowledge. They're coming with a lot of different stimuli from a lot of different places, and it's all good. Whereas in the past, it would be sort of scattered. Now it's not as much scattered as much as there's no organization to it, meaning the sequence in which they put that knowledge to work isn't necessarily the most efficient sequence for them. Maybe they've got one thing out of order that throws everything else out of order. And when that happens, it's a lot easier to get some things done immediately, which has been good. The other thing I've learned off of every student, I continually learn this, I think we as coaches have to push ourselves to learn each and every day. And one of the things I see constantly is not necessarily that not everybody's the same so much as everybody has a different way of saying the same thing. It's sort of like learning multiple different languages, but instead of learning multiple different languages, it's multiple different labels based on who the person is in front of me. One person may call a draw a hook. I'm not going to sit there and try to correct them on it. I'll let them say that, because if that's what they visualize and if that's how they see themselves doing something, it's much easier to work off of their constant versus try to change their constant. You get to the finality, you get to the end game a lot sooner than versus trying to have to correct them on what may or may not be happening.
Right. Well said. And I think, if I understand correctly, I think really, part of what you had said there is that they're coming better prepared, which obviously helps your job become a little bit easier in working with them. When the more prepared students come to a lesson tee, I think the better the overall lesson can be. And that doesn't mean that obviously new golfers and beginning golfers sometimes might have some things that they aren't familiar with yet. But I think the more savvy that the students are and knowledgeable about the game in general, I think helps to make our job a little bit easier. Pete, what about you? What things did you take away from working with your students maybe this past season that are going to help you for next season? Was there anything that you can think of in addition to maybe what John already talked about that your students, working with your students this year, is going to give you maybe some thoughts or pause to make some changes or to increase your success next year?
Well, for me, as you and I have talked about time and time again, I've always prided myself on keeping things pretty simple. And, you know, there's a lot of information out there, and the guys have been talking about all the information. The students are better prepared. You know, there's biomechanics, there's, you know, science, everything that's being tossed out there. But I think the one thing that I've taken away, and it's the credit to my students, is that, you know, they're always saying, hey, we want it as simple as possible. We're not really interested in trying to talk about anything other than the simple concepts that you've always given to us. And so to me, I'm actually going to try to go into 2018 to make it even more simple. I'm trying to look at everything that I do and see if I can't simplify it down even more. I mean, I think I've done, you know, a pretty good job, but, you know, that's the resounding theme I'm getting is, you know, we want it as simple as possible. You know, I'm not into, you know, all this, you know, all the terminology and everything. I just want to know ball, flight, cause, and effect. That's all I want to know. And that's what I've been doing for, you know, over 30 years. So to me, it's just, you know, going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, I mean, it's plain simple golf. How do we make it simpler? How do we get the concept so it's even easier to do? And so for me, that's what I'm taking away in from this past season is, you know, really working at trying to just, you know, detail the concepts down and make it so it's as simple as I can do it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And you know what's funny about that, Pete, is and let me just go back for a second real quick. I apologize, James, that you were supposed to go next, and I
that's okay.
Misspoke and had Pete go, but that's okay. But let me just say this quick point real quick while it's in my mind before it drifts like next year. Last evening, I happened to be watching a little bit on the Golf Channel. Might have been late afternoon, but anyways, I think it was the Champions Learning Center segment, and John Daly was on, and he was talking about that very thing. He said one of the things that really disturbs him about the modern day teaching is that there's been too much, especially over the last several years, that there has been too much emphasis not only with the technology, but really making things very difficult for students to really understand and grasp. And he said that those very key words about really keeping it simple. And he talked about some of the things that he does himself to just, he takes his backswing, low and slow, especially with his driver, and he waits till that club head, he can see it in his left eye before he knows it's time to go back. Now, obviously, John takes a much bigger backswing than most folks out there, but he has a very simple approach. He's not thinking about 20,000 different things. And, this is a guy that's, obviously played out on tour for a number of years, has certainly had some success. And he said really that this is something that a lot of pros, even pros sometimes have difficulty with this, that there's just too much emphasis on trying to make everything perfect and giving too much information. And he said, quite frankly, he said, I really don't care. Now, that's obviously him personally, so much about the swing speed or ball speed or, RPM, this sort of thing. He says, the numbers really don't mean anything. He says, I know by how my ball reacts and how I put the club face on the ball, whether or not I'm getting the results I want and ball flight and so forth. So, he's in agreement with you, Pete, that, I think keeping it simple is key, and I think it's something that we can all understand and learn from. That doesn't mean that we can't use some of this other information and that we should just throw it away, but I think we have to put it in its proper place and not get too wrapped up in the hyperbole of technology and some of the difficult teaching methods that have been presented out there, because it's obviously not having a positive effect with students in every case. So, James, what about you? What are you going to take away from this past season, do you think, that's going to help you work towards making a better season for your students and for you?
I have learned that especially with all the technology that's available and what I use to teach with nearly every day, and some of it is obviously advanced information, and I don't have a really expensive launch monitor, but I have a lesser expensive one. But to answer your question, with all the information that you get back whenever you're using a blast motion or using a Earnest Sports or even a Flight Scope or TrackMan, of all those details, I'm learning that there's only probably less than a handful that really matter day to day.
Right.
That today I was working with a guy that's actually training, but he's also a good player. He's like an 8 handicap, and he wanted a putting lesson. And so while my blast motion gives me, like 17 metrics of answers, of all these things that are going on, while he's rolling the ball with a putter. But we only worked on 2 details. And, one was his backswing length and face rotation. And it was funny, how we started. He was really closed at impact, 2.5 degrees on average, and a really short backswing from 10 feet. And once I asked him to actually make his backswing longer, and we tried to match up some numbers to how much the face was opening on the backswing, his numbers came to 0.0 like numerous times. And so, we could talk about all the other details, but I'm learning myself that even though those details are there, I did at the beginning because there's so much excitement with this information that's coming out. But at the end of the day, a bunch of it you just don't need. So going forward, as I, if I'm working on putting or full swing or what, and rhythm, literally each lesson, as I've been doing this stuff now for a couple of years with the technology, is I give less and less information. The lesson is much more efficient. We get results much faster. And then, when it's time for our next lesson, if we have a next lesson, sometimes we talk about the same thing, but maybe we don't. And so that's really it. I would say less is more. It's good.
Yes.
And and like Pete says, and John too, I know John uses Flight Scope. And, you give a little bit that you need to get your results and to make sure your student can leave with it and make it happen.
Right. Well said. And I think there's, as you just pointed out, James, I think there's certainly a common thread with everybody out there. And I think the common thread is this, that sometimes keeping it simple yields the best results. I look at it this way, and I try to put myself in a student's position when I think of these things. If I was sitting there, and just as you pointed out, James, here your technology is giving you, 17 different points to look at. If I was sitting for a 30-minute or even an hour lesson, and we were going through 17 different points, it wouldn't take very long for me to become very bored, because there's a lot of data
right.
there, and also confused. And I think this is one of the criticisms that I've had for a long time. Listen, make no mistakes, folks, for those of you tuning in tonight to the show, I'm all for technology. I love technology. It is exciting. It's interesting. It's innovative. And there are a lot of benefits to it. But I think that we have to be mindful, and we've talked about this, guys, many, many times on the show, and we'll continue to talk about it, I'm sure, that we have to be mindful that although there might be a few students out there that want to crunch the numbers, the majority of people just want to learn how to play better and have fun. As John, you said many times in the show, fun is the key word. And if they're caught up in all of the data-driven advice and teaching that's made available to the point where they're getting confused or overwhelmed, suddenly you've taken the joy out of that student's learning. I mean, if you think back to when we were in school, some of the most enjoyable moments in school of learning when you're learning something that was simple, but yet it was exciting and it was interesting. But if you sat through the classroom and you were talking about history, there might be points of history that were interesting, but if you got into every minutia and detail of that history, for the most part, it became very daunting and overwhelming and difficult to remember, and it became very boring. And I think that's something that happens in all areas of life, but particularly has happened here in our industry over the last several years. And that's, I think, something, as Pete pointed out as well, that we have to dial down and really keep it simple. I think people have a more interesting time. Again, great answers, guys. Another question, since everybody sort of talked about it a little bit, I want to bring this in and just get some general thoughts. And James, I'm going to take a deep breath. We're going to start with you, and then I'll go to Pete, and then John.
Sure.
There has been a lot of golf marketing and mass social media being presented to the average golfer, as we all acknowledge. But James, in your opinion, what misconceptions, if any, in your opinion, are being circulated around today? And that can be through social media, again, YouTube. It doesn't matter what medium it's coming from. There's obviously a lot of misinformation. Is there anything in general, again, we don't necessarily have to get specific, and we definitely have to get into the who's and the what's and the where's, but anything that you can think of that's maybe circulating around that, in your opinion, you don't think is really being beneficial to the golfers out there, that's really going to help them in the long run?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. I'm not sure I know how to answer that. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would say the most interesting stuff socially right now are probably the disagreements from group to group, and some of the discussions that go on by both professionals and by amateurs on what things should look like, and so I'd say that's probably the toughest thing right now, is that publicly, especially when it comes to golf instruction, there are different, if you will, that have really come to light here in the last couple of years, on especially when it comes to biomechanics and stuff, on what some are saying are happening, and there's confusion, definitely confusion.
Right.
I know Pete is involved in a bunch of these groups. John, I'm not sure about you. Are you in any of the Facebook forums and stuff with the instruction?
I am part of them, but I don't participate based on your exact answer. The Discord is so, it can be very vicious and acidic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It alienates some people. It alienates not only coaches, it's going to alienate potential clients.
Sure.
It is interesting reading. I will read from time to time, especially when I know when it's a good friend posting what they have to say. But I learned early on, it's just I wasn't gaining any traction or credibility with the people that matter to me, and that's my clients.
Right.
It wasn't bringing me more clients either. It was, if anything, it was showing that that I wanted to be more debatable than agreeable. And I think at the end of the day, from a coach's standpoint of view, it's not that you're agreeable. You're agreeable to meet your student halfway and get them down the road where they want to. That is part of where they get their education, though. So I am mindful of that as a informational source.
Right.
I agree. Ted, for sure. I mean, and I know because you're in some of the groups too, you see some of the stuff, in these groups, there's in there, and things are being shared from one group to another, and, there's little battles taking place. And, at the end of the day, is there suffering? Are folks confused? I would imagine that folks, maybe not a bunch of them, but some are confused, even golf instructors, especially the younger ones that are, needing to learn, and their learning needs to be positive, so they can, be able to go in front of their client and feel confident about for them.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we're all in agreement that that's one area. Pete, I know that as I am, and John and James, I know we're in a lot of these groups. I, for one, much like John, I will certainly observe what's going on, but I refrain from jumping in on a lot of the dialogue for a couple of reasons. Obviously, I have my show or shows, should I say, in plural, that I use as my platform to share, and I'm a firm believer in sharing knowledge with one another, not only in our profession, but to ultimately our end game, which is the students. And to me, I think it's okay to disagree, but I think as professionals, it's not okay when personal attacks of that nature become very apparent. I think it's not only a disservice to the industry as a whole, but it discredits the individuals that are making the posts. I've seen everything from general questions get ripped apart to people that have specifically set up an opportunity to invite. In other words, they're antagonistic in their approach when they make certain posts, knowing full well. To me, and the sad part of it is there have been a number of people who I know and who actually, I'll be quite honest, who have been guests on the show that have done that. And it I'm certainly not going to, disassociate or dislike the individuals for their opinions. But I think that they need to take a step back and look at what this is doing, not only to their own reputations, but also to the industry as a whole. Because if I was somebody on the outside, just Joe Schmo that wasn't involved in the industry, and I saw this type of hyperbole going back and forth, I think I would be very concerned that there's some form of dysfunction within that profession. And it would make me less inclined to want to reach out to a professional, knowing that goes on. And that's why it bothers me a little bit when I see that. I didn't mean to take away from the other guys, but Pete, any thoughts you want to add, or are you pretty much, I think, agree with what's been said, or is there anything that you can think of? Maybe, Pete, let me just stop you for a second before you answer. What about golf marketing? This is another area too, and I'm talking about marketing of products and things like that. We've seen this for years. Any thoughts on that area as well that maybe have circulated around today that maybe there's been some misconceptions? I know some we've talked about. Pete, go ahead.
Well, I'm in agreement with you. It's time that we as a profession, start to, stop the bickering and continue the teaching. And that's really what it's all about. Everybody's out there trying to say, I'm the only one that's right. I'm right and everybody else is wrong. No, that's just not the case. It's just not the case. So you need to stop it. So we need as an industry to get behind that. Marketing, you see it all the time. I mean, everybody's product is the greatest, and you'll hit it 100 yards further, and you'll lose 50 strokes, and everything's out there. I mean, and that's what it is. I mean, everybody's going to pitch it. Just look at our world today. It's nothing's really on the truth. It's all about, how can we bend it as far as we can to get people to listen. And the proof is always going to be in the pudding. I mean, if they're going to get your product, they're going to find out right away whether it's good or not. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's the proof is always going to be in the results. And that's really what this is all about. It's all about results. What results are you getting? You don't have to, write a scientific paper to prove that you took some guy from a 15 handicap to a 10. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to have all that documented. We just have to keep doing our jobs and making golfers better. I mean, the polls say that 1.8 out of 10 golfers are taking lessons. That's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah. And when they go on Facebook and they get on these groups, hey, I'm going to look for some help, and they're just battling each other back and forth and calling each other names. And I'm right, you're wrong. This system doesn't work. Your system doesn't work. Why would you even bother contacting these people? I mean, that's what it boils down to, and that's what the masses are doing. And everybody says, well, we're only talking to golf instructors. No, the masses are watching. They're listening. No. They're in these groups.
Sure they are.
They see what's going on. So, it's a sad state of affairs that it's come to this. We've got different camps fighting with each other because everybody wants to be right. The only thing you have to be right with is the person that's in front of you, and that's it. The one that you're teaching right now, right at this time, is the only one you have to be right with. And that's really what it boils down to. So, I agree with you. It's sometimes it's comical, but it's a little bit disheartening at the same time.
The other thing
it is.
In there.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
The other thing I was going to throw in there, if you are a student, or just a general golfer, you got to sort of ask the question. And I bet you a lot of them are. Wow, if this person has the time to be debating whether they're right or wrong, they must not be spending a lot of time teaching, coaching, and that's. I find that quite interesting. that all these people are saying they're so busy, yet they're constantly posting. I'd put my phone away during the day. If I'm using it, it's on my belt to count my steps. It's very difficult to post and coach at the same time. You know, that's ultimately, to me, that's the question. Are you coaching or are you posting?
I asked that question online not long ago. I was like, how could you be teaching? You're posting all day long. What is it?
Yeah, that I agree, and you know, I think what happens is, and I know, you know, we're trying to have a little fun with this, but you know, you're exactly right, John, and you actually kind of stole my point, because that was the point I was going to make next, and that's so true. Is there are a lot of individuals that I see, and we know some of them, I'm sure, jointly, guys, that make regular postings throughout the day. I mean, you know, it's one thing at night after hours. I get it. You know, people are home and, you know, they want to see what's happening on social media, I guess. But when it's happening throughout the day and you see the timeline of posting, it makes you wonder that if they've got that much, you know, information to provide and criticism and critiques of how things should be done, how are they going to know whether they're right or not if they're never out there actually implementing anything they're talking about, because they're too busy making posts through social media? So I say, you know what? Before you knock something, try it. I've said this to many people before who
bingo.
And this is my go-to that I say, and I'll throw my sister under the bus. You know, years ago, my sister, she's about 3 years older than I am, and we were sitting. I was actually, funny enough, watching the Masters one day, and she said to me, she made the comment, she says, "I don't get it." And I said, "Don't get what?" And she said, "I just don't understand what the appeal is." Now, I thought at first she was talking about, you know, just watching golf, but it was about golf. She just didn't understand. She'd never played the game before, never really been to a driving range, and really didn't understand the concept. And, you know, why do you want to chase some stupid little white ball around? And it just doesn't make any sense. And, you know, I wouldn't have done this to another person, but being my sister, I knew I could get away with it. I got a little bit upset with her, I'll be honest. And I said, "Look," I said, "you know, be quiet over there." I wasn't quite as nice as that, but I said, "Be quiet over there. If you've never played the game and you've never tried it, you don't have the right to criticize." I said, "When you can go out there and say you've given it an honest effort and then you don't like it," I said, "then you have that right to make that comment." But I said, "Don't criticize or pass judgment on something that you've never done." And I would say that point to the instructors and coaches out there that are battling back and forth through social media. If you haven't actually implemented something or put it into practice to really know for sure whether it's right or wrong, or you're in agreement with it, then you really shouldn't make comments just because you're trying to get more likes or draw attention to yourself. That to me is just unprofessional. And I'm going to take it one step further, and then I want to move on. There is going to come a point in time, if it's not already happening, but the governing bodies, if you will, whether it be the PGA or whether it be the USGTF or other organizations out there, TPI, that are going to start monitoring, much like employers do for their potential employees, that are going to start monitoring this. And as we all know in our code of ethics, we are to maintain a certain professionalism. And that doesn't mean we can't disagree from time to time. But when there becomes clear evidence of whether it be abuse or what have you through social media platforms, that does those organizations discredit as well as you and your other fellow professionals. And there's going to come a point in time where there are going to be repercussions for that type of activity. And I hope it comes sooner than later, because maybe it'll put an end to it and get people on the right track, and that is working together for a common goal, and that is to get more people drawn to the game, having fun, and getting enjoyment out of it. And we're not going to certainly do that if we're continually battling back and forth in a public forum. That's my final thought on it. If anybody else wants to add one more thing, by all means. Otherwise, we'll move on. We good?
We're good.
Yeah, that was a great point.
Okay. I'm going to jump off my soapbox now. I got another question for you. This is the last show of the year, so I'm going to have a little fun with it. I want to, and I'm trying to think of who's first here, but Pete, I'm going to go with you. Or no, actually, James, I'm going to go with you. I'll give you the first crack at this. And then John, and then Pete, I'll let you wrap up with this question. for all of our listeners out there who maybe have never played before, but are interested in learning to play maybe for 2018, they want to get started. They've been maybe listening to the show, they've been reading some information, maybe watching the Golf Channel, never played and thought, this is something I want to try. I want us to put together a checklist, and each of you, throw some thoughts, and you don't have to do a complete checklist, but maybe a couple things of what you would put together to give them the best start. So if you had this particular individual in your hot little hands for a few moments, and they indicated an willingness and eagerness to learn and take up the game of golf, what would that checklist entail that you would put together that they would need to do? And it's not just necessarily we're talking about instruction. We might be talking other areas. It could be equipment. It could be what would you do to give them a good start, a running start? James, will go with you first.
Always offer all the brand new beginners who don't have anything that I will provide everything for them, so that they don't have to worry about going out and spending money to buy clubs that we're not sure are going to be the correct ones yet. And I try to get them, if it's possible, like a beginner's golf little camp, and just get them out to the club, learn how to hit the ball as quickly as possible. And I know in the past we've talked about this a tiny bit, but I love getting them onto the golf course as soon as possible, and sometimes that's even the first lesson, depending on the time of day, and really there's no other players around, where you can get them out onto the property to really feel and get a sense of the beauty of what golf really is and how wonderful it can be. So checklist-wise, they can show up in tennis shoes. They don't have to go and crazy and spend a lot of money. You want to be properly dressed. No need to buy golf clubs just yet. I'm going to always provide that at the very beginning until we're ready to make that purchase and make the purchase that's good for their investment. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, well, good start to it. John, what about yourself? What are some things that you want to do? You might even meet somebody, through the Christmas holidays and your travels, and start up a conversation. They understand what you do now, and maybe they've expressed an interest to you in wanting to maybe take up the game. What are some things that you're going to put down in a checklist that you're going to give to them or discuss with them and say, this is what you should do to really get a running start?
The first thing I ask them before I make the list is, why haven't you started? Most people are reluctant. They're fearful of starting. So it's, hey, just go on out there and do it. Don't worry about good habits, bad habits. How do you know what habits you have? Just go out there and do it. Have some fun. Understand it. Get an enjoyment level. I agree with James. I supply every beginner. I've had probably 25, 30 people come out this year that have never held a golf club, do not own a golf club, so the rentals come out free of charge. Here's some balls I've found throughout the year that's in the bottom of my bag. Here, have them. Here's tees. Here's this. Here's that. Make it as welcome to them as possible. No matter what the direction, have them understand direction is really the third thing. I have them understand it. If you're going to face south, you can't expect the ball to go north. So let's just have a general understanding of that.
Yeah.
And then no matter where the ball goes, it doesn't matter where it goes, have them fall endorphinately in love with impact. Have it become their drug of choice. As soon as they can feel impact and what that does and how it makes you feel, you're hooked. I don't care where the ball goes. If it goes east, west, north, south, it doesn't matter. As soon as that endorphin rush happens, man, I hit impact. As soon as they go, wow, you're hooked. Why haven't you started by now? Come on, let's go play. I could be anywhere. And that's I get that question a lot in public places, and that's really the four things I throw out as the checklist.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Great start as well, John. And Pete, what about you? If you're going to put a checklist together for a newbie, if you will, that's never played the game before but has expressed an interest, what are you going to give or advise him or her to get a good running start?
You know, it's funny you asked that, because my son came to me one day and he said, you know, is there anything out there that if you had somebody who's never played the game, you could hand them and you pretty much explain what has to happen? And I said, well, you know, I'm not sure, but why don't we create something? So we've actually been working on it. And, you know, I go back to, you know, the questions that I always do, and even in every shot or everything we're doing in golf, you know, what are we trying to do? I mean, that's what I wanted to get them to understand first. This is golf. What are we trying to do here? How do we accomplish it? What's necessary to make it happen? And what do I need to get to make it happen? So, you know, how do we go about it? And so we're putting together from start to finish, you know, here's a golf course. This is what it looks like. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is a par 3, a par 4, a par 5. This is the common goals of what we're trying to do. This is a golf club. These are what we use. This is a golf ball. You know, so going from basic to somebody who's never seen it, never had it done, we're going through all the processes so that they can have something that's condensed into a 20 or 30 minute, you know, short little video to show them this is golf. What are we trying to do? So that they have an understanding of what it is. And now once you've got that understanding, you know, where do we go to get started? And like John said, let's get that impact going, because that's what's going to hook them. You know, you hear it all the time. Boy, I sliced 14 balls, but man, I hit that one on 15 straight as a string. Boy, was that fun. You know, so it's really about, you know, getting them to understand the concept. You know, and even as simple as, because I heard it all the time. I mean, when I was around John Jacobs, the first thing he always said is, "What are we trying to do? We're over here in a bunker. What are we trying to do? We're over here pitching. What are we trying to do?" So, I mean, it's a great question to ask. And so you're starting off, you've never played. Okay, so what are we trying to do here? What do we need to make it happen?
Yep.
So I think it's a great thing that needs to come about, because we need to get more players into the game. And I think the simple, easy introduction that we can give them access to the equipment. And I'm just amazed that no big company hasn't come up and just made equipment so easily available for beginners. It just baffles me that they haven't done that yet. I mean, they make 10 drivers every year, but they can't come up with a simple set for beginners. It just makes me crazy.
Yep.
But, you know, the equipment should be easily accessible and affordable for the beginners, and they ought to be able to be pushing this out the window, that we can get these things to them to make it easier for them to play.
Heck, it should be cheaper for all of us. Never mind just the beginners. I mean, when you look at the cost of some of the equipment, it should be available. I don't care what discounts we get or not. But
do I buy this driver or pay my mortgage? You know, I don't know which one I should do this
exactly.
month.
Exactly, and unfortunately, some people make the wrong choice, but we won't go there. Great answers, guys. And I just want to just throw out a couple things as well, as I always do. But I think one of the first questions that I want to ask somebody in that position is a great person that has really helped me to think about this is my co-host on the Women of Golf show on Tuesday mornings, and that's LPGA Professional Cindy Miller. And one of the first questions that she asks a lot of her new students is why? You know, why do you want to play? Why are you there? What is it that you want to get? And I think when you are able to understand the answer to that, for instance, you know, somebody might want to play because it looks interesting, it looks like fun. Maybe somebody is involved in a business that a lot of their peers are involved with, and they've seen the business, the advantages and the benefits that they gain from having golf in their repertoire. Maybe it's a wife whose spouse plays a lot on weekends, and she wants to find a way of drawing closer and finding an activity that she knows he likes that maybe would be fun that they could both do together, maybe on a vacation or just when the time permits. So there's a lot of answers to the why, and I think when we understand that why the individual is interested in the game in the first place, then we want to make it, as we've all talked about here, is we want to make it as simple as possible for them to be engaged. And as you all pointed out, I mean, it's great that we can provide equipment for them up front to be able to use, to test it out. I mean, certainly we don't want to be jumping in and getting somebody to buy a bunch of equipment and then finding out a month later they're really not that interested, and now they've spent, made this the small investment. So, we want to get their feet wet, so to speak. So, and as John said, we want to do it in such a way that we get them hooked, so that we can get them to see some early success. They're certainly not going to, win the Masters or the PGA or what have you right off the bat, unless they've got some God-given talent we don't know about. But we want to get them excited about wanting to play. So, if I was to put together a checklist after understanding the answer, I would want to, and there's a lot of good books out there and a lot of good information, whether they search for it online or what have you, or they sit down and talk with their local golf professional or coach, with some of the basics of golf in general. How is the game played? Where is it played? What's involved? What's the purpose of the game? That type of thing, so that they get a general understanding. How do I handle myself, when I get to the golf course? What do I do? Do I tip? Do I not tip? And there's a lot of questions that, believe it or not, many beginners and even early amateurs haven't a clue. And so they kind of need to sort of be led around a little bit. And so I think it would be a great advantage for any golf professional out there that may be listening to put together some kind of a checklist like that, and put together some very general things. I mean, before we even get out in the lesson tee, let's put some general information together to help people understand what the game is entailed about, what's involved in the game, how it's played, how do you handle yourself at the golf course, where do you go, where do you drop off your clubs if you're a new person to that course. A lot of people don't know those questions, and they might seem very simple to you and I, guys, but there's a lot of people out there who haven't, especially a lot of women who are new to the game, because they're at a little bit of a disadvantage. Women have not been playing, certainly on an amateur level, as long as men have. So they're still fairly new to this arena. So the more that we can help them, the more comfortable we can make it, the more likely they're going to want to engage and be involved. So I think that there's a lot of good things that we've talked about here tonight as far as getting people started, and we're going to even expand on that more in 2018 when we bring back Coach's Corner in March of 2018. So I'm glad that you guys were on here tonight to help me close out the 2017 season. As always, you guys are great on the panel, and you guys just bring so much knowledge and expertise and professionalism to this program, and it's I can't thank you enough, and I do appreciate helping to really make this show first class, and thank you guys for that. So in order, I'm going to give John, James, and then Pete the last couple of minutes each, just to let the folks know if they want to reach out, and any closing thoughts you'd like to make. John, go ahead, and then James, and then Pete.
Sure. First off, Ted, thank you for the opportunity. It's always fun getting on here, no matter who I'm on with. James, Pete, always great to be on with you guys. It's always a fun time. We cut up and really put it in all perspective for everybody. I definitely appreciate your humor, your enthusiasm, but more importantly, everybody's passion, and I appreciate that. As far as reaching me, it's John at John Hughes Golf, obviously www.johnhughesgolf.com. All my social media is basically the same thing. For a 2018 wish, one of the things that Vic Williams at Golf Tips asked all the top 30s is, what would you wish for people into 2018? And what I basically wished for, to sum it up, was more time for people to spend playing golf, whether it's practicing, playing, it doesn't matter, but also for the realism to understand where golf is in your life. Where's the priority? Is it first? Is it fifth? Is it 50th? Doesn't matter what it is. To be realistic within that priority, but always make it a part of your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be your lifestyle, but it's certainly something that, if you enjoy, should always be a part of some part of your week at the very least, or maybe your month. But be realistic about it based on what your life priorities are. And I want to wish everybody one great happy holiday. no matter what your faith, no matter what you believe in, this is the time of year that everybody sort of sits back, takes inventory, puts the list together for 18. Don't put a list together. For 18, put a do list together. This is what I will accomplish. Mm-hmm. And next year at this time, look back at it, see what you're able to do. If you didn't get something done, put it on for next year, but don't forget about it and constantly look at it as a reminder of what your potential can be.
Well said. Thank you for that. James?
Yes, Ted, I will reiterate, absolutely love coming on and being on the show with you and tonight with John and Pete. Truly an honor and appreciate you having me be involved. So much fun. James Kyle, and my academy is called James Kyle Golf Academy, which I operate at East Lake Woodlands Country Club, which is in Oldsmar, Florida, just to the west of Tampa area. And, love what John just said. 2018, set goals and set realistic goals and stick to them and make good choices and get out to the golf course, and try to play a little bit more and not only just yourself, but, grab a friend and grab your wife and your kids and, get out there and experience it. If they're not experiencing it, try to get, your friends and family out there to see how wonderful golf is. And Ted, thank you again.
You're always welcome. And Pete, last but not least, any final thoughts, and then share with the folks if they want to reach out.
Well, first of all, Ted, I'd like to thank you for having this platform. It's great for us to come on. You run a terrific show. You ask great questions, and you handle all of the people that come on the show with grace and really do a fantastic job. So I want to thank you for allowing us to have this forum to do this. And again, thank John and James. It's always great chatting with them and being on the show with them and listening to all the great wisdom that they have. And I would say, for everybody for 2018, golf is a great game, and it's been a great game to a lot of us. And it's just, look at what you want to do, look at what you want to accomplish, set your goals, and go out and grab them and go get them. It's out there for the taking, so you can improve as much as you want to improve. And there's a lot of information out there, so go ahead and look at it and achieve what you want to achieve. And they can find me at plainsimplegolf.com. All my information is out there. We're revamping the website, and hopefully it's going to be up and running here in the next 7 to 10 days with all new platforms. So I'm excited for that, and there's going to be a lot of great information that the people can come in and look and see. So again, Plain, PLANE, Simple Golf. So it's all out there. And again, Ted, thanks. Really appreciate it. It's really an honor being on the program.
Well, as always, guys, I appreciate you, and thank you, all three of you, for your kind words. When I started this journey a few years back, believe it or not, guys, we're going into the 6th season for Golf Talk Live.
That's awesome.
And,
wow.
It's hard to believe that you guys have put up with me for that long, but thank you for doing so. I've really enjoyed it, and really the time has flown by, and we've had, it's been a learning curve for me. This was something, which was really kind of funny. I'll share a very quick story, and then I know you guys all want to go. You've had long days. When I first started this broadcast, just almost 6 years ago now, it really started out with an idea of what we were talking about earlier. I saw so many of the different platforms in social media where people were conversing and having conversations, and I thought, you know what? We need another platform that we can actually verbally communicate instead of just, typing 140 characters or what have you, or, popping in an emoji or whatever the case was. I wanted to create a platform and a show that would showcase some of the wonderfully talented individuals, both male and female, in the golf industry, and not only use it as a platform to exchange information among ourselves, but also to the masses out there that are tuning in. And the audience has just grown exponentially over the last several years. I mean, I'm amazed at really the numbers that have been coming in this last season, and from all over the globe. So there's people tuning into this show from every corner that you could imagine, and quite good numbers. So I'm very pleased with that, and it just goes to show that when you put together a product that is, put together with thought and you're willing to showcase other people. As I've said many, many times, this program is not about me. It's not about, getting more likes on Facebook or, getting more friends or things like that. This is really about showcasing the many talented people out in the industry, and I'm just simply using my voice to help make that happen. And I think that the more that we share and pool our resources together to help one another, I think the more successful we can make this industry, and ultimately the more successful we will all be. So on that note, as I close with you guys, I've got a few more minutes. I want to say some other thank yous along the way. I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and particularly a Happy New Year. And I will be sending out not only to you guys, but to many of the other coaches that may be tuning in tonight, either now or later on. We'll be sending out the 2018 Coaches Corner schedule here in the next few days. So make sure that you check your dates. I will put in the email, of course, what the parameters are. We're going to have a great season next year. A couple things that we didn't get through this year, we're going to get to next year. And one of them is we're going to have some more special guest panelists added into the mix that are going to come with specific areas of the game that we're going to focus on. So we're going to have more of that next year, and some other great surprises along the way. So make sure that you guys tune in. But again, guys, John and Pete and James, thank you very much for all that you have done, not only for the industry, but for this show. I appreciate it very much, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you too.
All right. Have a great one, guys. I will see you next year.
Yep. Good night.
You got it.
Take care.
All right. Good night.
Night.
All right. That was my very special guest on the final Coaches Corner panel of 2017, Mr. John Hughes from johnhughesgolf.com, and James T. Kyle from the James Kyle Golf Academy, and, of course, Pete Buchanan, founder and owner of Plain Simple Golf, LLC. I can't emphasize enough how much these guys have contributed to the show over the last several years. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, we're going to be creeping into our 6th season here on Golf Talk Live. So very, very excited. I want to just send out a quick thank you to a number of others, and I'm going to start with the Coaches Corner panelists, some others that have been on the show over the last year, and actually some of them over the last several years. Just a very quick shout out to all of them, and just share my appreciation. In addition to the group that was on tonight, another favorite and a long-standing guest on the show, Mr. Clint Wright, a PGA 30-year member and a partner in the TGM golf group, and a founder of a proponent of the R3 approach. Thank you, Clint, for all you do. Mr. Peter Agazarian, he's PGA and TPI certified teacher professional out of the Taconic Golf Club, and newly head coach of the golf coach, rather, of the Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. Has been a new position that he's taken on this year. Also, my good friend out in California, Jamie Leno-Zimron, LPGA professional and founder of Ki Golf, the Ki Way. Thank you, Jamie, for all of your support. Another great PGA Master Professional in instruction and Class A LPGA Class A member is Allison Kurt from Allison Kurt Golf. Thank you, Allison, for all of your continued support on the Coaches Corner panel over the years, and also for being a guest. Mr. Brian Dobby, the PGA professional at the Montclair Golf Club up in New Jersey. Chuck Evans, founder and owner of Chuck Evans Golf, and also John Dunnigan, PGA Master Teacher Professional for John Dunnigan Golf. Also Bill Abrams, PGA Golf Professional at Bill Abrams Golf. Another good friend and regular contributor on the panel, Coaches Corner panel, John Decker, Teacher Professional at the New Albany Country Club, and also an author as well. Mike Fay, PGA Professional at Boyne Golf Academy in Michigan. Also, Brandon Stooksbury, PGA Director of Instruction at Idle Hour Country Club in Georgia. Paul Castor, golf instructor at Paul Castor Golf. Tom Patry. Tom is a top 100 teacher in America and founder and owner of TPI Golf Services, great teacher professional. Also, those in the fitness end of the golf industry as well. Ms. Catherine Roberts, founder and CEO of Yoga for Golfers. She's also been a regular contributor here over the last year. Brett Cohen, who was not only a contributor but one of the special panelists as well this year on the Coach's Corner. Brett Cohn, of course, is a certified golf fitness instructor, and also Bob Foreman, another good friend and regular contributor, not only the Coach's Corner panel, but on the program as well. He's also a certified golf fitness instructor. So thank you to all of you guys and all of the others, John Weir as well, a great PGA professional. Thank you for all of your hard work in helping to make this show really what it has become, really a great success. And I thank you for particularly really bolstering the Coach's Corner panel. You guys have done a fantastic job, and we're going to have, as I mentioned a moment or two ago, we're going to have a great 2018 on the Coach's Corner panel. You should be receiving the emails shortly letting you know about the new schedule. So please keep an eye out for that. Happy holidays to all of you. Merry Christmas and all of the best. I want to also recognize some of the guests as well that have been on the show. I think that they are due their recognition. Mr. Barry Goldstein, a number golf professional as well for many, many years, and his lovely daughter, Carly Goldstein as well, who is a graduate from LSU Women's Golf and soon to be on her way, I'm sure, to a professional career here very shortly on the women's golf arena. So we'll be looking for her. Thank you, Barry and Carly, for all of your continued support. Mr. Bernie Pinder from Ontic Golf. Not only has been a guest on the show, but a great supporter of the program as well. Thank you for all of your continued support and being a guest on the show. Alicia Larson, LPGA professional and founder of Gratitude Golf LLC. Thank you for all of your contributions, and she's going to be joining also on the Coach's Corner panel in the new year as well, so we'll keep an eye out for her. Eddie Marins, the little pro, legendary golf teacher, was a recent guest a few months ago on the show, just a great guest. He's going to be joining me again in the new year at some point as well. So thank you for all of your input in the show earlier or later part of this year, and I look forward to having you back again. Also, Dennis Jordan, the golf dude in the basement, you may recall him. He's been a great follower of the show and gave some great input. This is a gentleman, of course, that met with some tragedy a few years ago and has basically been rebuilding his life and using golf as a way of doing that, and has just done a phenomenal job in recovering through some very traumatic injuries, and is now reaching out and helping many others. So he's going to be coming on again next year and sharing some great stories and continuing on his journey. So thank you, Dennis, for all of your hard work, and I appreciate you having your input into the show as well. Also, a special thank you to the late but legendary PGA member Billy Casper. Thank you, Billy. We wish you were still here, and I will say it then, and I said it again now, what a great honor it was to have you as a guest on my show. One of the first really, truly legendary players that I had the honor of interviewing on the show. One of the first years, actually, I aired Golf Talk Live. He was very giving of his time, and I certainly sorely missed, not only by the golfing world, but by his family. Speaking of which, also my good friend, as a result of that interview, one of his sons, Byron Casper, who is also a golf professional, a teacher, and a friend of mine. Thank you, Byron, for all of your continued support of the show and for stepping up and coming on and really helping many golfers out there reach their best potential by some of the great tips and stories that you shared. So thank you, Byron, and I look forward to having you come back again in 2018. Also, Tiffany Fitzpatrick, founder and CEO of Black Girls Golf, just doing some phenomenal work. She, of course, was referred to me by another gentleman by the name of Rick Lucas. He was the director of the PGA Golf Management Program at Clemson University, and he is also working with Tiffany in her project. But thanks, guys, for coming on the show and sharing your stories and educating the many listeners out there. Also, Mark June, head coach at the Chattanooga men's golf team, Go Mocs. Thanks for coming on and sharing, and he's going to be coming back as well in the new year, so look forward to that. Also, a great PGA professional, a European Tour member, Andrew Brevant, who also is now a teacher and a coach up in the New York area. Andrew is going to be joining me as well in the new year again on a future show. So thank you for all of your thoughts and input and sharing some great stories, and I look forward to having you come back on the show next year as well. Mark Sweeney from Aimpoint, who came on the show as well. Thanks for all of your input, and keep up the great work. You've got a great system there, and I know it's helped many, many players improve their putting. Peggy Rhodes White, of course, founder of the Ted Rhodes Foundation. As most of you have known if you followed the program for any length of time, Ted Rhodes, of course, was one of the early pioneers, African-American golfers who really paved the way for many, many players, including Charlie Sifford, Lee Elder, and of course Tiger Woods more recently, and many, Calvin Peete, many of the others. He really paved the way, and Peggy, of course, being his daughter, has come on the show and is always working to raise funds through the foundation to help other young African Americans that want to take part in this game and helping them get a foothold, and doing so through her foundation. So thank you, Peggy Rhodes White, for all of your support of the show and for being my special guest over the years. Wally Armstrong, had the first time of interviewing him this year. He's a lifetime PGA member. He's been all over the Golf Channel over the years. He's been a great asset to the business and the game, and it was an honor to have. I've followed him for many years, and it was truly an honor and pleasure having him on the show this year as well. And I look forward to having him join me again in the new year. Also, Peter Kessler, legendary golf announcer, also affectionately known as The Voice. Peter, of course, came on the show fairly recently as well. Been a big fan and follower of Peter, and actually something that I shared with him, and I'll share it with you. Peter was one of the reasons, even though we had never spoken and have never met prior to him coming on the show, was really instrumental in me doing this program for a number of reasons. Obviously, having the same name, Golf Talk Live, was purely coincidental, but to a program that he fostered on the Golf Channel some years ago. But he was, of course, an early pioneer in golf television on the Golf Channel. In fact, he was the first media person that the Golf Channel had on their program, and carried them, in my opinion, for many years with some great interviews and great segments on the show. And it was just a treat having him on here, just a knowledgeable historian of the game. And definitely I'm going to have him come back, and I appreciate all that you've done for the game and continue to do. And thank you for your kind words as well, Peter, and your encouragement. Jay Ewing, CEO, Director of Instruction at the Bird Golf Academy. Thank you, Jay, as well for your input. Elisa Gaudet, founder of Women's Golf Day, learning and trying to stretch this game in an area that really has been one of the fastest growing segments, and that is women's golf in the industry for the last several years. And she's doing her part to give it even a more international flavor on an amateur level. Obviously, the LPGA has done a phenomenal job professionally, but has just done a phenomenal job in spreading it through other areas as well. Also, a special thank you to the team members from NY Sports Lab, guys coming on here, getting into a lot of the technical side of the golf swing and some of the biomechanics, and very interesting discussion with them. So thanks, guys, for all of your input into the show, and I hope to have you back as well in the future. A.J. Bonner, head teacher pro at the A.J. Bonner School, a great gentleman, again, first-time guest on the show this year. Enjoyed having him on, and I'm going to have him back in the new year as well. I know he's looking forward to coming back. And Pat Roquet, of course, founder of Rock Your Golf, a good friend, has become a friend over the last few years through this program, and just does a phenomenal job, and really give her a lot of credit in helping new people come to this game who have never played this game before. And she's actually one of the first people I know of that really put a checklist together to help people understand what golf is all about and how they can become involved in some of the many benefits of playing golf, not just on a personal level, but even as a business person, some of the benefits that can be obtained. So thank you, Pat Roquet, for doing that. And lastly, I want to give a special thank you to someone that's become a good friend over the last few years and is my co-host on the Women of Golf show, which airs Tuesday mornings here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And, of course, I'm talking about LPGA Professional and Legends Tour player Cindy Miller, as well as her husband, Alan Miller. I'm giving a special thank you to Cindy because, she's just done a phenomenal job in helping to attract some great talent to the Women of Golf show. She's just a grinder when it comes to this industry, not only out there giving it her best many times out on the golf course as an LPGA professional and now more recently a Legends Tour player, but just really goes that extra mile in helping people understand and just learning to play this game and having fun at it. So thank you, Cindy, for all that you do, not only for the many thousands of people out there that you work with on a yearly basis, but also thank you for me for bringing some great talent to the Women of Golf show, and for always bringing your best each and every week. And I look forward to working with you again in the new year. And certainly last but not least, I want to thank all of you, the listeners, who have began following, who have continued to follow, and hopefully will continue to follow as we move into a new season. Thank you to all the listeners, and it's really all of you who have tuned in from literally all over the globe. It's your faithful support of the show each and every week that really helped make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. And I have, as you've heard over the last few moments, a great amount of pleasure and enjoyment of having a number of highly talented coaches, teaching professionals, authors, and entrepreneurs stop by. And together, combined with them and the listeners, I couldn't be happier with the results that we're getting with the show. And we'll continue to get in 2018. As I said many, many times, I'm going to say it again. Got a great 2018 series coming up, season coming up rather. So you want to make sure you stay tuned in that. But in the meantime, what you can do is if you go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, that will take you to the main page, and you can scroll down to the on-demand section. And tonight's show and all of the previously aired shows from their beginning are in that archive section. You can listen to them if maybe you've missed some, or maybe some that you haven't listened to in a while and you want to go back and maybe there were some good tips on there or some great conversation that you want to listen to. Take this opportunity through the holidays to do that. Listen to the many great episodes and many of the great guests that have been featured on Golf Talk Live, both on and off the Coach's Corner panel and my special guests, of course. There might be some great tips in there for you that will help you with your game. And at the very least, hopefully they'll be entertaining. So blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live. You can also go into iTunes.com or Stitcher.com or even TuneIn.com. It's available there as well. Just go under the podcast section and just type in Golf Talk Live or Women of Golf, and that will take you to both of those programs. Broadcasts are featured there as podcasts in those three medium forums, and obviously on Blog Talk Radio, Women of Golf is also there. Just add a /Women of Golf after the blogtalkradio.com, and you can scroll through the Women of Golf archive as well. Just a final thank you to some of the sponsors and supporters, Mr. Jonathan Laird from SouthCoastGolfGuide.com. Visit that website and you can get your hot little hands on a great publication that's here in the southeastern part of the United States, literally from Texas all the way over here to the northwest part of Florida and all states in between. Some great courses that you might want to play. You can go on and get a lot of the information off the website, but if you want a copy of the guide and you're not living in this area, through the website you can contact Jonathan Laird and he will make sure that a copy is sent out to you. And if you're planning on a trip coming here to the southeastern part of the United States to play some great golf this winter, you want to get your hands on hot little hands on a copy of the South Coast Golf Guide. So go to southcoastgolfguide.com. Thanks again, Jonathan. Meredith Kirk from Meredith Kirk Golf out in the Myrtle Beach area. Go to meredithkirk.com is her website. All the great information there. Meredith, of course, is a great LPGA teacher professional and just a great young lady all the way around. And if you're out in the Myrtle Beach area, you certainly want to look her up if you want some help with your game. Nikki and Tiffany Litherland. Nikki, gosh, I'm getting tired now. Nikki, of course, is a great golf professional and his lovely wife, Tiffany Litherland, have been great supporters of the show and have really been, as I said, supporters of the program. I know I've mentioned in the past about getting Nikki on the show, and he has promised he's going to do it. He's had some personal issues over the last couple of years that has prevented him from doing that, but things are looking much better for him. So we'll see if we can get him on in 2018 if he'll be ready to do that. But thank you guys for your continued support. Bernie Pinder from Ontic Golf, as I mentioned earlier, and lastly, Sean Kelly, owner of LinkedGolfers.com. Thanks, guys, for all of your support of the program. I look forward to being on air on February 6th for the Women of Golf and February 8th for Golf Talk Live. So until then, everybody, have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, God bless, and thank you very much for all of your continued support. And I look forward to being on air next year right here on Golf Talk Live. Have a great weekend and a great, safe, and happy holiday.